Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, America. Good morning, Europe. Good morning, world. And good morning, Dennis. Good morning, Amos. And good morning, John. And good morning, Oz in the back. Yeah, what a week, right? And yeah, during this week, when I was trying to make up my mind how this show should look like, honestly, I did not feel lots of enthusiasm to do this today, But on the other hand, we have to do this. We have to talk about serious stuff. Um, well, if the situation is like it is, and we have to deal with it. And so I guess the funny parts in this show are not so in the front. The serious parts are more important. And yeah, I want to start, with my panel. I want like to know how everyone is doing. Amos, how are you doing in New Jersey?
Holding on. We have the regular Corona stuff, and on top of that, everybody is affected. There's action going on in terms of protesting in the vicinity as well.
Yeah. All right. John in California, how are you doing?
Well, I'm up here tweet raging and hoping Shahid from behind the scenes digitally and stuck up on a hill in La Honda, so pretty isolated and honing that anger.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Dennis, how are you doing in Germany?
Nothing really new in my life. Same old, same old. The young couple having sex every night, and I hear them. So hey,
you get
Corona.
Yeah, that's nice. So you get entertained, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Netflix and chill, but you don't have to pay for it.
Kinda. But the thing is that I have quite a great imagination, and therefore it's kind of like, yeah.
So you're blessed, yeah. All right.
Totally.
Nice. All right. Moving on. That was
okay. Before we are going into the serious stuff, as usual, we are taking a look back in history, and yes, a lot of very important things happened in the past, and I think we should address the most important thing which happened today. It is the inventing of the improved ice freezer, which was patented by Mr. Young. And we all know, and maybe Mr. Young prevented the worst, because we know, if we can show the next slide, what would happen if he did not invent it, and Nancy Pelosi, and we can be happy that she was fully loaded ice cream. Maybe it prevented the worst. Yeah, well, Shahid will take care of her, we hope.
Anyway. By the way, Marcus, how many people will help with this? Regardless, Mrs. Pelosi, but I imagine sometimes when I'm alone and I feel like a little bit need happiness, I stand up, go into the kitchen, go to my freezer, put out the ice. It's kind of magical. So thank you.
So you can. That's ESC, yeah. Well, yes. Sorry, Amos.
Well, it's known that high temperatures do have effect on rioting and on unrest. In the early beginning of the past century, there was rioting in New York, and what instigated it is the fact that no ice was coming from the lakes. They were chipping ice, they were delivering it, and there was, I believe, a strike. Nobody could get ice, and things blew over. So
you see, yeah. Anyway, and well, other things are not so important which happened at this day. A female was burned somewhere, and not so important. It's just a side note of history. And I think we should go over to Dennis, who is reporting about the important things in Germany. And we are talking about how the coronavirus is developing, respectively, and how far the situation is getting eased here.
Yes, starting from the mid of June onwards, certain restrictions will be eased. Meaning, for example, at the moment, right now in Germany especially, is you are not supposed to meet with more than one people, no gathering, and so on. But slowly, but in a slow manner, these restrictions are lifted because we don't have the high infection numbers anymore, and so on. But I wanted to speak about, especially about the reopening of the borders between our countries here in Europe, and especially about Denmark and Germany, because it's the first, after all the restrictions were held up and all the things were done, it's this first countries who are reopening their borders between each other. For example, Ors, can you show the picture again with the Denmark sign on? So this is how a border station or border line in Europe looks like. So there is no really any authorities out and so on. So you can just cross borders. But the thing is, what I kind of get from it is that because of the because of the economy, because all the let's say we are in the downfall with our economy. So Denmark especially relies on tourism from Germany. Many German people, especially in the north of Germany, travel to Denmark for their holidays. So therefore, the government here in Germany and in Denmark agreed on to reopen the borders for tourism. Let's go to the big map so that I can say something about the situation in whole of the European Union. So all the countries that are colored in blue have some travel restrictions, meaning you can't pass these borders as you do or as you want to. You have to have a piece of paper or something that says, hey, you can go because you have very important business. If you look at the countries, especially Spain, France, and so on, I call it in red, they are still in totally lockdown. So no one can travel in, no one can travel out. And the countries in the green, they have no restrictions. So people of those countries can move around, travel around, and so on. The thing is, the great thing, it's a weakness and it's also a strong thing. We can compare it to the US. If you have a federal system, meaning you have different countries with their own rules and so on, it's great because you have more independence regarding the state. But it's also a weakness because we have 27 countries with different rules. We don't come to each other to an understanding or to a point where we say, hey, this is how we should do in all these countries. For example, I have a family in Belgium, and Belgium was also very hit hard regarding Corona. And there's something, we don't have a stream of line or rules so that we rely on or organize our lives on, because no one knows what's really happening. Everyone is in a limbo. But I think this reopening of the borders with Denmark is a sign of, to get a little bit back of normal. But we will see where it will end.
Well, Dennis, the conclusion going back to normal, I have my doubts. I see the pressure of the economy.
I know, but the thing is, we all know every government around the world, it's ruled by the economics, most of, and therefore, I hoped this whole thing would change the minds of people. But for example, I was grocery shopping yesterday and I heard all those people crying out like, oh, they forbid us, or they say we can't do this and that and so on. So it's always the old same old. It's no really a rethinking happening, a process of re-evaluating of the situation and so on. We will see. I hope I hope there will be, first of all, lessons learned, because some of this could have been prevented. But we will see.
Well, okay. If we really learn the lesson in Germany, we will see. We will see what the next weeks and months will show. And well, if I look at the hotspots, where people are careless about the virus, we see that the infection rates are rocketing again, and I'm worried that it is a wrong signal at the wrong time. That it brings the people to the thinking that everything is okay now. Now we can go on like we did before, and I think it is not yet the time. But as I said, the pressure of economy is so much, is so deep. There is no other choice for politicians to open up, and we see this in a more drastic way in America. Anyway, we are coming now to the actual news. What's going on? We are talking about the killing of George Floyd, about the riots happening across the states, and this is exactly the point where I was hesitating about the show today, because in the past years we talked so many times about this, and then I realized, though we talked a lot about all this, what happens, about the brutality and violence and killing of Black people in the US, the names are slipping. And this is what really frightens me, that we tend to forget the most names in the past we talked about, and we discussed this topic, because it is just an endless row of dead Black bodies. And it is very hard, because we know what should be done in general. It's a kind of logic. It's a kind of humanism to know what is right and what is wrong, and that there are so many people, especially with the police, who seem to have another thinking about this, about the value of lives. I don't know. It is difficult, And when I prepared the show and the card, I was wondering how could I express what's going on, and I came to the card, where I have the moment where the police department is set in flames, and the people were gathering around the police department, and well, then it came into my mind statistics. You can find the statistics below the video. It documents the mapping of police violence in the US. It has a lot of graphics, lots of interesting stuff in it. I chose to put some of them in slides to show what's going on. And you see it here in the first one. The police killed only in 2019 1,099 people. And if you go to the next slide, Black people were 24% of those killed, despite being only 13% of the population. And there you see exactly that something is correct about this. It is not correct to kill people, and you see, that Black people are unproportionally killed. And if we go on to the next slide, we can see that it's this is exactly what the kneeling, the taking a knee of Colin Kaepernick and others is a bizarre document of what we saw this week. We saw a white police officer killing someone with his knee on his head, on his heels, and it is absurd. It is I don't have nearly no words for this, but it shows something is completely out of order. And if we can go to the next slide, please, Urs. And there you can see what's going on. Only 27 days in the past year where police did not kill anybody. it is not important at this in this statistic what the skin color is. You know, only the fact that there are only 27 days. This is not only the shortest month in a year. This is not only February. You know, this is ridiculous. And if you go on with the next one, please, and then you see another statistic: black people are more killed by police 3 times than white people, for example. You know. And it is, even if they are unarmed, it is 1.3 likely to be killed. This is something which should be for a society unacceptable, in my opinion. You know, and let's go just to the next slide, and there you see it. It matters where you live. You know, if you see Oklahoma. It is 6 times more likely to be killed by police in Oklahoma than, for example, in Georgia. On the right side, you see a comparison, you know, of police killings of black men. You see the murder rates, and we are talking not about incidents in which weapons were included or someone was hurt or shot. No, we are talking about killings, you know, and a completely different thing. And if you can go to the next one, please. You know, and then you see, on the other hand, that there are some police departments, stations, or governors, I don't know exactly, which have a completely different approach on how to deal with crime. And then you see a very interesting statistic. You know, you see Buffalo in New York and compared to Orlando, Florida, with nearly the same population. Buffalo, New York has a higher percent of people of color than Florida. The violent crime rate in Buffalo, New York is higher than in Orlando, Florida, but in Buffalo they didn't need to kill anyone, and in Florida 13 people were killed. 13 black men were killed, you know, and or 13 people in general. You know, well. It shows me clearly that if there is the will to approach this problem, it can be changed. But I think it has a lot to do with the understanding of police work also. I looked it up, you know, where the word police is coming from. It's coming from the Latin word policia, and it means something like a public administration. You know, and in this case, an agent who is working for a public administration should behave like a public administrator. But you have the cops in the US, they are pushing the law enforcement. And there you got already in the word, you got the violent aspect in it. There's a force in it, you know. They maybe it is their own way they see themselves, you know. They see themselves maybe as the ultimate absolute authority. No one has to talk against it. But they are not serving anymore. There are no administrators. They are enforcers, you know. And I think this is only a little example. It is only a word, but words can also have deep impact into the self-understanding of people, you know. And it should be changed in so many ways and in so many aspects, you know. And I would like to hear. Okay, what I want to say is to start the discussion, you know. And on the card, we are seeing the police department, which is in flames, and I saw several video footages of this, and it was quite strange for me to see this, you know, in comparison to other riots I saw on video, etc. To me, there was a certain moment which it all was a little bit different, in my opinion. It was when the fire department was burning, and I saw all the people gathered around the police station. And what I saw in those footages, in those video footages, the people did not, at this moment, at this special moment, in this special place, not anywhere else, I don't know, they were looting, violence, etc. But at this special moment, at this special place, the people were standing there, and some were singing, some were chanting, but at this moment I didn't sense any aggression anymore. In contrary, I felt something like a release coming from the people, like they carried out something evil, you know, and they burned the evil right now. This is only my opinion. I had thousands of miles away from what was happening at this moment, you know, and I would like to start with Amos, for example. What was your impression when you saw the department going on fire, and what's your opinion in general of what's going on?
Well, in general, what I think is going on is basically an explosion of frustration after basically people feel that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no hopeful perspective. The political venue is not leading anywhere. And I think it goes beyond race this time. I think and you saw that there were a lot of white people in the crowd and stuff. You see that it's a expression of the frustration that oppression's taking. I mean, there's oppression is taking toll on these communities, and not only along black lines, and that's just expands towards that end.
Yeah,
but I think that you're right, that there was some sort of jubilation, but that's not necessarily, I don't think it's an indicative thing of where this thing is going. That was there were similar moments in previous events, and the unfortunate part of these riots is that it's uncontrolled. There's no leadership to it. It's like basically it can very quickly deteriorate the chaos and give cover to violence, which which could be problematic, and I'll go into part of that in my section.
Yeah. But not having a leader, I think it's the nature of a riot somehow, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, John, what is your opinion on it?
Oh, well, hey everybody. Well, I think the winds of change are blowing pretty hard. I wore this just to give everybody that, it's really what's going on here. So I've spent the last couple of days doing a lot of tweets, watching a lot of the footage, and I think that this time it's different. I think we're done with the tone policing. I think we're done with the narrative spin that, oh, it's looters. Even if it is looters, we've got plenty of footage this time that we've got white people dressing up as black people to do looting. We've got paid looters. Even who was it? Trevor Noah said we saw this in South Africa, and we're seeing it here, so pay attention to it. Killer Mike's statement, which is basically what's happened, everybody, is I'll summarize. Bernie Sanders made a choice this time to, again, be loyal to the DNC like he did in 2016. He blew off the revolution. The revolution was pissed off for a while and said, we got to keep going. Then this shit went down after the COVID went down, and it was the breaking point for the American public. However, even though you're seeing what looks like chaos, all the footage that I'm seeing is showing some very clear delineations here. All right. I've seen Americans not really being that violent. I've seen protests. I've seen a lot of property damage, but I have not seen American protesters wailing on cops. What I have seen is footage of people taking video of cops and cops wailing on American citizens. I've a friend of mine, Zach Roberts, new acquaintance, who is a award-winning photojournalist. He's got, you'll recognize his stuff. Got in contact with him a couple of days ago because he works for Greg Palast, and I've got an opportunity to interview Greg Palast coming up here, right? He was at a protest, I believe, in Dallas. I'm not sure where he was, but he was pepper sprayed and he was hit by a rubber bullet. Okay. He is like, I'm here as an independent journalist. Police are monsters. Okay. CNN guy, right? CNN been arrested.
We're talking about this CNN a little bit later.
Yeah. I mean, everything is different this time because it's clear who the enemy is. It's clear what's going on here. The police are the instigators of the violence in most of the cases that I've seen. You don't see a lot of people arguing back. We know that white supremacists are the ones that are causing most of the actual violent damage to things. we've seen this tactic before. So it's like, we're not buying the bullshit this time. We're not buying the narrative. And MSM is actually reporting on some of these truths. Don Lemon and other black folks on MSM, Cornell West, Anderson Cooper just shut his fucking mouth and let Cornell West stay. We're going to run that piece. I don't know when. I probably went a little too far ahead, but I just wanted to say things are different this time. That's what I see. And yeah, I see jubilation, I guess is a word to call it. But really what it is people who recognize that when they rise in mass, they can actually threaten their fucking political leadership and get shit done.
Yes.
So
and this is, thank you, John. And this is exactly the point, you know, and well, we saw this so many times, you know, and we saw people on the streets protesting. Amos will talk about this, about the history of the riots. Maybe this time it is really enough is enough. And Dennis, what do you think about it?
Yeah, just a short input from my side. I would say, if you say to people no and no and no for decades, meaning don't give people opportunity or something to look for, or education. The whole thing is like a pressure cooker. For decades, it was cooking and cooking and cooking and cooking. Here and there, some steam was going out, but it was still pressing. And this situation or this event, it just lit up, and I do really understand people who are saying we are fed up with this. So, for example, before Corona, we have around 60% of the whole population of the US didn't have $500 in the bank for an emergency. Then Corona comes around. Oh, Congress, how we give you $1,200 for several weeks, and so on and so on. What do you expect of a population that is demoralized, has no resources, doesn't know where to go, left or right or whatever? And then there is something like this. I don't know. I am the youngest here. I don't have that much experience. But when I was part of Antifa in my early 20s, when we really batshit crazy fought against Nazis, I was like, violence has its meanings, but it's not the end of the thing. And I fear this particular event right now of the burning of the police station and so on will legitimize more oppression or more things, like to say, hey, look at these people. I don't know. I fear that this will really escalate to further events, but that's all I want to say about this thing.
All right. Okay. Well, I think the complaints, the only thing is from certain people, you know, complaints about the looting and vandalizing stuff. And well, I think the point has come for the people, for the black people, for the black community, where it doesn't matter anymore, you know, because if you look back, if you look at the situation, we are in the middle of a pandemic. We are fighting Corona and all this. And what happened after this? You know, the millions of people who are unemployed now in the US, etc. You know, and all this comes together right now. And then the people were seeing that that politicians give billions of dollars to the big corporations, which I would call a cold looting. So they shouldn't shut the fuck up complaining about the hot looting, which is happening right now. And I saw, for example, a post today in which a restaurant owner who was also an immigrant in the US said, okay, my restaurant was burned down and I can understand. But he says, in the end, it doesn't matter. Because in the end, it does matter that something is going to change, you know. And if even a restaurant owner who lost his existence with his restaurant says it is not so important, then fighting for a change, fighting against racism, etc. I think this speaks volumes, right? And but we are back now into history and what was in the past. And Amos, you prepared something. You want to talk about riots and protests in the past. And,
well, it's not so much in the past. It's more looking at it from the historical perspective of where it has gotten us. Basically, I was looking at the LA riots some quarter century ago, and where we've come from out of that, because I really wanted to see, is there like a redeeming point? Is there like a purpose to it? Is it going to improve things? And the conclusion I've come to is that it is a complex issue. It's mixed at best. And regarding I wanted to tell Dennis, there's a really good quote from Langston Hughes that refers to what he was talking about, and that's: what happens to a dream deferred, a dream on hold? Does it dry like a raisin in the sun, or does it explode? History shows that a dream that's turned into this dream turned into a nightmare. So it really didn't. I mean, that's what's going on. That's what's happening. The frustration is palpable. So in 1993, when the LA riots began, to whoever is not young enough, too young to remember, there was a beating that was caught on tape of Rodney King by police officers in LA. And those police officers were then later acquitted unanimously by an all-white jury. And that really sparked, within an hour, it sparked citywide, like neighborhood-wide riots, which just got worse and worse in the upcoming days. The first thing that happened is very similar to what happened now. The police just pulled back because they were outnumbered, but that was a bad sign, because what was going to happen next was much worse. And we all remember there was, in that case, there were situations that they were looting and so forth, and that has not improved the image of these neighborhoods, and that has hurt back. In 1997, though, 30. There was a poll that was conducted by the Loyola Mammoth Levi Center, and 37% of the population believed that ethnic and racial groups were getting along well. They redid that in 2017, and this time 76% said they were getting along well. But what has happened really in the time period, and I've seen reports where they were saying that the riots helped because now South LA is a much better place. But what really took place is that a lot of the black population has moved away once it was burned down and the prospect looked very dim. They moved away, and it was a lot. Other populations have moved in. It's now more diverse, and it's become like a kind of like a little booming area where there's a lot of investment that was put in. But these people have not gone away, and the condition, it's known that the condition currently is just as bad as it was in 1992 prior to the riots. There were we were at 22% poverty rate in it's a comparable figure to 1992 in that region. So it's not that things has necessarily improved much for these people. It's just that they're dispersed more, and it's hard to pinpoint their disapproval or dissatisfaction, and that's a frightening thought. On the other hand, after the riots, the mayor Tom Bradley, who tried from 1973 to 1993 repeatedly to change the culture and the structure of the LAPD. Finally, after the riots, was able to restructure the police and oust then police chief Daryl Gates. And that since then, there's been a lot of reforms in the LAPD. I think things have improved a lot there in that regard. So it's hard to say where things are going to go. But we have to remember that wherever, and the reason I don't like anything that contains violence is because it just spirals out of control. There is a lot. It's a very crude tool, and most of the people who get hurt are people that are not supposed to that are innocent or not, just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. And 63 people were killed in those riots in LA over a quarter century ago, and 23 of these cases were never solved.
Must have been
I
cops.
think. Well, it's no 63%. Sorry, 63 people were killed, not by the police, but in general in the riots. So there's a lot of stuff going on whenever there's violence happening, and I would be cautious to be rejoicing that it's an unfortunate reality that it has to come to it, but we have to understand that it's caused by this lack of positive outcome. Nothing has changed in those quarter century. We're seeing the same kind of brutality in other parts of the country, and it's as if we've never had that. As if we've never learned the lessons. It's astounding.
Amos, can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I said this several times and several occasions during the years that I'm now doing shows like this. A nation, for example, that does not recognize its original sins and till this day, till today, does not want to talk about and deal with it and discuss it and really start a real process of healing. For example, for the settlers, what did they do? They had two choices: to exist with the native people or dominate them. They choose to dominate them and mostly kill them. Therefore, then ongoing with slavery and so on and so on. If you don't deal with your original sins, for example, when I hear on TV or on MSM, America's original sin is slavery. No, bullshit. Your original sin is genocide. You are a nation that is founded on genocide and is built on the backs of black people, meaning slaves. If you don't recognize this, if you don't recognize, you don't come to the conclusion or to a point where you understand the grief till this day, this kind of feeling like I'm less worth than those people. Do you know what I mean with this? What I want to say with this? So then you have all the other factors like poverty, education, no healthcare. This is also something so cruel, and I don't understand it from a German perspective. I don't know. I won't want to hang out like high horse here in this discussion, but the cruelty of this all thing. Then the police violence. For example, it's mind-blowing for me when I heard this from John years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. It only takes 6 weeks to be out on the street with a gun and call yourself a police officer. Here in Germany, it takes 3.5 years, the training, psychology, de-escalation, and so on, and so on, and so on. This all comes together. This is entwined in everything. Yeah. And if people don't have a real talk, like a sit-down, like you have, I don't know, this is some... But
Dennis, the thing is, I know where you're coming from, and in general, I agree with you, but if you're talking about Germany and our history, for example, when when did Germany start, to discuss its own history, its own sins, It was when
In
Germany
the
was
60s.
It was when Germany was defeated, and it took years until the process started, as you said, in the 60s. So
Yeah.
if you are not defeated somehow, if you're a superpower, then there is nothing to discuss because you're doing everything right, because you're in the position in which you are as a superpower, right?
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, and I think this prevents it. But I think in the end, it is we cannot compare, and on the other hand, we cannot compare Germany
No.
or Europe with US, because
I know.
what you said is with the start of the US, with the settlers, etc. But if you see how deeply the violence aspect is in the DNA, and this is exactly what you said. It started with the fight against the Native Americans, right? Then the slaves came into the game, etc. And it was never a question, if this was right. Not in a big field, that what in comparison happened in Germany, after what happened here, but it was not afforded because America made everything right, because they made the country prosper,
Yeah.
and in quotation marks. But there was no need to put up this question, I guess, right? What do you think, Amos and John? What do you think? Because this is the German critique to US. What do you think?
Not really a critique, just an observation, I would say.
No, critique in
I don't care.
Okay,
Don't really give a fuck. It's just like arguing some stupid minutia, which is what Germans like to do.
Okay, good.
Don't give two fucks. You guys question your own morality or wherever your high ground or low ground. You've got a better government. All right.
But it's exactly proof somehow what I said before. Amos, what do you want to say?
Well, I think that I mean it's got to be internal. The changes have got to be internal. I don't know if you guys have heard at the beginning of the program there was a procession just passed by me under my windows here, and I'm in a suburban area, so. This is big this time around. I'm afraid it's bigger than we are suspecting right now. It's going to grow, and I don't know how that's going to also affect the infection rates of COVID. You have to think about that too. That's going to spiral out things as well. So I think things have come to a point where this is probably seismic, and we'll see where it goes. But I don't know. I'm not very optimistic in which direction it's going to go. I wish I was. I wish I thought that things are going to improve all of a sudden. But the way Trump has been using it politically is probably going to bring us rather to a very bloody affair as opposed to calming things down.
Yeah, there are strange signs right now, and for this I want to come back to Oz and his observation on the CNN incident, the camera team and the reporter which was arrested yesterday. And Oz, if you would like to say something about this and maybe show us the clip also.
Yeah, I actually would like to play this clip first before I parse it and spoil the pudding here. This is from Rising yesterday. And we all know that the CNN crew got arrested. The whole thing stunk to me, so I'm not gonna give it away, but let's just run this clip.
And this is a scene here playing out in Minneapolis. This is part of the advanced police presence that we saw come over the course of really minutes when the local police showed up at the fire department, or with the fire department, I should say, on that building we showed you that was burning. This is among the State Patrol unit that was advancing up the street, saying and scattering the protesters at that point for people to clear the area. And so we walked away. I'm sorry?
You're under arrest.
Okay. Do you mind telling me why I'm under arrest, sir? Why am I under arrest, sir?
Officer's with CNN and he's on the air right now. You are arresting him live on CNN. We told you before that we are all with CNN.
I believe they're about to, we're all about to be arrested. That's our producer.
Okay, I think that's enough of that. I will say, does anybody see anything wrong with that report? We know they got arrested, but what I'm looking for is what the ladies on the Friday Daily Dive pointed out to me. Anybody just go ahead, throw out. Was there anything wrong with that other than the fact they arrested him?
There is Jilly in chat. CNN looked like a photo op.
Jilly, you get a happy face from me.
Yes, I can imagine. We watched this. Oz told us before in the green room before we started the show, and I watched this clip yesterday. And for me, only the question came in mind: okay, who gave the order? But looking closely at the video, there are some things which are very, very strange. For me, as a German who is not normally involved in any police activity in the U.S., it was strange to see when someone gets arrested that he first can go on with his live reporting, that he can keep his microphone in his hand and stuff, and it looks also he was not carried in a way like someone is arrested. It was kind of someone they helped him with the interview somehow. It was only missing that the guy took over the microphone to hold it for him. This was my perception. Oz?
Yeah, I think it was a setup, and I just don't know why. Why? Were they trying to curry favor for CNN, get ratings? Were they trying to make the police look like they're doing their jobs? The crowd was surrounded behind them, kept away. It was just set up like an interview. They let him start talking, and the guy that actually went over to arrest him let him finish his line. Then he cut in, like being timed. Okay, we're going to put you under arrest. And the reason why they were arresting them, he wouldn't give them at the time, but we later found out that it was because they wanted to vet whether they were actually CNN people. I'm sure there was a CNN van there. They had their lanyards, but the whole thing stunk. I just want to know why. I want to know why they parsed it like that, because usually these days it's the police throw you on the ground, cuff you, or, they stop the camera, they take over, because they don't want this stuff exposed. So this is served up on a silver platter. Why was it done like this is what I'm asking. I'm not being a tinfoil hat. John, we've all watched this shit, all of you guys before, how people get arrested, and this was just too perfect.
And normally there should come an officer and tell stop filming, otherwise you get arrested. And this obviously did not happen either, right? Well,
I think it's an example of police tone deafness, and I've seen them arrest people that were completely peacefully protesting in events for no apparent reason, and you just you basically provide footage for things to go out. It's inexplicable.
But this was a complete interview and camera team, I mean, I would think 5, 6, 7 guys, and there were visible CNN reporters, and there is something behind it. It has a purpose that this happened, This is clear. The only question is, why did it happen? And, the question is, who gave the order? From which direction came the order to do this? Was it made, a setup, to make look CNN heroic or brave or something like? I don't know.
That wouldn't be in the police's interest. I think, if anything, somebody thought it was going to intimidate the media, but I think that's going to have the opposite.
Yeah. It makes the complete thing. Makes absolutely no sense right from the beginning, right? Anyway, we talked a lot about what's happening right now, and I think there's one thing missing, and it's a black voice. And I think we should do this. I would like now to show you two clips. The first one is Tim Black's statement on George Floyd, and what Dr. Cornel West has to say. And I think it's important that we roll those clips, because in the end we are only the white guys discussing this. Dennis and I are thousands of miles away, and I think it is now time to listen to black men.
About property damage. Well, you work for some insurance company or something? That's all I see. Oh, they're burning something. Shut your ass up. No one's concerned about the death of a black man in the middle of the street, but everybody's complaining about damn property damage. I'm Tim Black. Hey, check this out. You are listening to a proud black man who's unafraid, unapologetic, and has no reason to cower. So I'm not going to say, oh my God, I don't condone looting and rioting or protesting or whatever. I'm not going to say that shit. I'm glad they're doing it. We need to do something. Glad people care. Glad people have a pulse. I'm glad that people are affected. Ain't worried about Target or AutoZone or none of that shit. In case you didn't know, Americans are broke. Where you been? People in food lines who miss one paycheck end up in food lines in America. We underpaid and overworked and not respected. So what's happening in Minneapolis and many other cities are pushback that is natural. It's only natural for people to fight back. At some point, people are tired of being stepped on, watching images of black people being killed in the street, being killed in their homes, being killed, period. We're tired of it. So, like, if you got a problem with that, that's too much for you to handle. Like seeing that imagery of the store burning, well, that's go fuck yourself. Just imagine what would have happened if those cowardly-ass officers who watched that killer cop, Derek Chauvin, murder in cold blood George Floyd. Just imagine if one of those officers had the balls, the courage, the heart, the ethics, the morality, the humanity to stop Mr. Chauvin, push him off of Mr. Floyd and say, not today, my brother, not today. Just imagine the different world we have right now. It'd been very therapeutic for us to see that, wouldn't it? I mean, in the midst of a pandemic, to see a white cop stop another white cop from killing a black man, it would have been beautiful. Oh, amazing. But still, we got this. We got killer cops protecting cops, or cops protecting killer cops. We got riots in the street. We got people upset. We got cops shooting tear gas and rubber bullets on calm protesters, creating more drama, okay? Creating violent protest. They started with the tear gas. Don't get it twisted. They did the same thing in Ferguson. They did the same thing in Baltimore. Everything was quiet and peaceful in Baltimore. The police amped it up. And then they gave them an excuse to crack some heads. At the end of the day, it's up to us if we're going to allow the law enforcement to continue to kill us. And you know what? I don't know if you noticed this or not, Johnson, but there's white people, black people, Latino people, Asian people, Native American people, all out in those streets. Everybody's out there. Because some people are humane. Some people are tired of this shit too. It ain't just black people, but I'm proud to say that I'm a black man who's tired of it, and there's many of us that are also tired of it, so let's stand up. I thank you to my allies. I appreciate you standing up with us. We got to continue to stand up, because this ain't going to stop until we make it stop. They'll do this shit to us another 100 years. I don't want my great-grandkids to be fighting the same damn fights because I didn't have the courage to fight them right now. So look, we need to do this now. My condolences to the family of George Floyd, and I understand they said, hey, we don't want no violence. We just want peaceful protests. Well, you know what? We can't help you. We can't do it that way. They're not going to allow us to be peaceful. They're not going to allow us to grieve. They're not going to allow us to change the system. Sorry, that it has to be this way. This is the way it has to be for right now. Until we get some type of laws on the books that immediately lock up people like Derek Chauvin, get him off the force. He has a track record of doing this. Do you understand? This wasn't new for him. All right? It wasn't new for him. And those stores can be replaced and that merchandise can be restocked. But Mr. George Floyd cannot be reborn. He cannot be undead, okay? So just know that shit. Solidarity, my brothers.
Yeah. Tim Black and Oz, are you ready for Dr. Cornel West?
George, where it is so clear it is a lynching at the highest level. Nobody can deny it. And I thank God that we have people in the streets. Can you imagine this kind of lynching taking place and people are indifferent? People don't care? People are callous? You have just a few people out there with signs. I recall the moments in which during the Reagan years, there was a few of us out there. In the 60s, you had masses out there. Now you've got a younger generation of all of these different colors and genders and sexual orientations saying, we won't take it any longer. But you know what's sad about it though, brother? At the deepest level? It looks as if the system cannot reform itself. We've tried black faces in high places. Too often our black politicians, professional class, middle class, become too accommodated to the capitalist economy, too accommodated to the militarized nation state, too accommodated to the market-driven culture tied with celebrity status, power, fame, all of that superficial stuff that means so much to so many fellow citizens. And what happens? What happens is we got a neo-fascist gangster in the White House who really doesn't care for the most part. You got a neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party that is now in the driver's seat with the collapse of Brother Bernie. And they don't really know what to do because all they want is show more black faces, show more black faces. But oftentimes these black faces are losing legitimacy too because the Black Lives Matter movement emerged under a black president, black attorney general, and black Homeland Security, and they couldn't deliver, you see? So that when you talk about the masses of black people, the precious poor and working class black people, poor and working class brown, red, yellow, whatever color, they're the ones who are left out and they feel so thoroughly powerless, helpless, hopeless, then you get rebellion. And we've reached the point now, it's a choice between nonviolent revolution. And by revolution, what I mean is the democratic sharing of power, resources, wealth, and respect. If we don't get that kind of sharing, you're going to get more violent explosions. Now, the sad thing is, at this neo-fascist moment in the White House, you got some neo-fascist brothers and sisters out there who are already armed. They show up there at the U.S. Capitol, and they don't get arrested. They don't get put down.
Well, that's
the president.
That's the extraordinary thing.
You see what I mean?
You have these white weekend warriors showing up as if they're former special forces ops when they're not. Busting into the State House, and the president praises those people, and yet everybody else is a thug to the president. He quotes, a white sheriff from the South in, I guess it was 67 or maybe 68. I mean, if you wrote that in a movie, people would say there's no way the president of the United States would quote a Southern sheriff on the night that a great city in this country is seeing, people in the streets. I mean,
that's exactly right.
But
keep in mind, though, brother,
also, I guess
he is being true to himself. He's being true to himself. He's saying what he really feels in his soul. You see what I mean? But see, we have to recognize too, because I know, like Tupac Shakur, I got some thug in me. I know I've got some gangster in me, and as a Christian, I got to fight it every day. What does that mean? That means we have to call people who they are. A neo-fascist thug in the White House calls my brothers and sisters in the street thugs. So then the question becomes, how do we keep alive moral, spiritual standards, keep alive, stand in contact with the humanity of all of us across the board, but recognizing we're living in a moment of massive economic, capitalist what is capitalist economy? Failure when it comes to delivering the needs. The nation state, failure to protect. Critical criminal justice system, failure to be fair, you see. And the only response we have is Samuel Beckett, my brother. Try again, fail better. Try again, fail again, fail better. Because white supremacy is going to be around for a long time. Don't get surprised if this happens again. Try again. You know the great moment in. Try again, fail better. That's the blues line of our Irish brother. But the question is, we must fight. Even in a moment in which we have a failed social experiment, we must fight, and we must have an anti-fascist coalition against what's going on in the White House Republican Party. We have to tell the truth about the milquetoast, cowardly activity too often that we see among the neoliberal wing of the Democratic Party, and we must be critical of ourselves in terms of keeping alive the highest moral and spiritual standards of Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker. And you see it at work in the soul of Brother George Floyd's family.
Dr. Cornel West, I appreciate your time tonight, and
love you, though, brother. You stay strong, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. What can I say to close this topic for today? I talked to my girlfriend about this, and she's black, and she said clearly, she doesn't expect a change during her lifetime. And well, this says it all. And well, let's go on to our next topic. And John takes over, please.
Marcus,
yes.
Before you move on, I just wanted to recommend a really good movie. If you haven't seen it,
please. I'm sorry, please. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's called L.A. Burning. The L.A. riots 25 years later. And it's a fantastic documentary done on the topic, so that it was very enlightening.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. We move over to John with the latest news around Cork and others.
Oh, thanks. Well, I wanted to say a few things first really quickly, just to give everybody more of a top-level view of the riots and the situation before we move on. Thanks.
All right.
So I loved everything that Tim Black had to say. All right. Let's just be clear. I'm going to say a couple of things that are going to sound conflicting, but let's just be clear that all of the Karens, all of the African Americans, all of the workers, no matter what level of worker they are, everybody in the 99%, and unfortunately that includes the MAGA heads, the fucking Karens with their dogs, us, right? We're all part of the working class that has been oppressed for more than 100 fucking years, right? You don't do that to a working class and expect them to not get violent. Right? So I know everybody doesn't want to be violent. And I know that our property in our capitalist fucked society is all that we have to cling to connect us to any form of fucking reality that we can even enjoy. Right? It doesn't matter if we all live in a fucking hellhole. Okay? And I get it. I'm comfy. I'm preparing to not be comfy. Everybody needs to prepare to not be comfy. Every white motherfucker who is happy and comfy right now needs to prepare to not be comfy. Every white motherfucker that is worried about their property, that is worried about things burning, that is worried about violence and is so upset about the morality of it all needs to realize that there are people who have been oppressed, hugely oppressed, and we are fucking snob assholes for thinking that our property is more important than the lives of our fellow human beings. Fuck my property. If I have to sell it to feed a fellow human being, then I will do so. Isn't that the fucking point of goddamn Christianity? if we want to move beyond capitalism, we have to stop thinking about our fucking capital. Okay? And that means everybody, right? We've got to stop, so I hate the MAGA movement, and I hate the ignorance of the MAGA hat, and I hate the ignorance of the white suburban mom. All right. I fucking hate it. And I hate Nancy Pelosi for all of her idiocy and what she's done for corporations and her ass licking of the fucking assholes in the insurance industry. However, they're all still human beings. Somehow, if we're going to survive as a species, we have to do some kind of process that restores justice for everybody. People are going to die. All right. All around, because we're into the revolution. Revolution is here. Bernie Sanders ditched the revolution and went to work for the DNC. We carried on the revolution. It's going to be violent, because it already is, because our government is violent. Our government is horrifically violent. And I don't know that Gandhi-like fucking actions are going to do anything against a massively violent government. We would really have to mobilize the vast majority of the fucking American public. But even then, there's still going to be violence. You can't stop a war machine that all they do is war with, please stop. We have to put an end to it. And that's what's happening right here. All right. So nobody likes what's going on, but finally we've had enough. And every white motherfucker around here needs to just chill their ass, humble their ass. Remember that we're not the ones who have been oppressed. Okay. And that we need to do everything we can to help our brothers and sisters who have been oppressed. And when we talk about our property, they just laugh. Okay, so I'm just going to stop it right there. All right. Discussing moral high grounds on things and stuff is just kind of ridiculous right now, especially from white folk.
Yeah.
It really is. So now on to something a little more exciting, and that's Cork. So I've been doing a little, if you could show the slide with the Cork crap on it. I've been working on outside of tweet raging. I've been working on Cork FM, which is happening. We're hopefully going to launch the station in June. I want to do a shout out to Orca. Hi, Orca. We are working with them. It's wonderful. Jennifer is my contact at Orca, and she's amazing, and they're excited about this is our Revolution Corvallis allies. If you don't know that, the station is based in Corvallis, so it's kind of difficult for me to really get things going from La Honda, but things are moving, and we are working on content, and we have some really cool content. And I think I talked about that last time, but now things are moving even faster. We still need to raise funds. The GoFundMe is still active, and we'd like you to donate if you can, or donate.uphillmedia.org, because that really, if you would do a $5 recurring donation monthly to us, that would really, really help. We have some really cool people that are interested in working with us on content. Greg Palast is one of them. Zachary Roberts is another one. The Shahid Buttar campaign. There's a bunch of different aspects of this that are all coming together. And my dream of like an independent media coalition is really starting to build, because they're all get some mention now, believe it or not. Like more people are interested in supporting what we're doing because they recognize that the reporting is critical. So this is good news, and I'm just telling everybody, I know you're all big supporters. We talk to a very small family here, but if somehow this reaches somebody else who's never seen this and wants to know what's going on, we've got a low power radio station in rural America connected to a whole bunch of other radio stations in rural America. These are hitting areas that have a lot of red voters, right? A lot of independent voters, a lot of people that feel disenfranchised from the entire government. And we're going to teach them civics along with good music. And it's a great thing that's happening, and it's one of the few positives. How long capitalism lasts and how long we're able to keep the radio station going, who fucking knows, but for now it's something positive to do. So if you can help us, please do. There.
Yes, this would be great.
Yeah, I can't even remember half the other people I've talked to that are going to be involved, but it's some cool shit going on. So so that's all for me. Thank you guys.
All right. Okay. So originally, I plan to have 2 more segments, but I will only address one thing regarding the good news. And this is, we remember the debates around the presidential candidacy, there was Marianne Williamson in one of those debates, and the first view on her was she is kind of strange, but my first impression of her was she had quite an interesting thinking, completely out of the box. You know, she's no politician, etc. And well, it turned out that she is supporting a bunch of progressives, and among those progressives is also Shahid Buttar. And for Shahid Buttar, she also has a video endorsement, and I would like Oz to show it.
Admiration for Nancy Pelosi, because she's the first woman Speaker of the House, and I believe that her achievements have paved the way in really profound ways for women such as myself. At the same time, I am a lifelong Democrat who has become very, very concerned with the corporatist direction of the party in too many cases. And I admit my own experience in the presidential campaign showed me how the control of certain forces at the expense of progressive voices is a direction that is taking Democratic Party away from the principles on which I was always raised to believe it stands. And so in this election, I feel that we need to do everything possible to make a strong stand for those of us who have been Democrats, for those of us who are Democrats. We need to take a strong stand for the progressive vision that many of us feel is absolutely essential, not only for the future of our country, but also for this next election. And as a consequence, I am now endorsing Shahid Buttar for the seat, the congressional seat in the San Francisco district where Nancy Pelosi now serves.
Yeah, I think this is a great endorsement. You know, I like Marianne Williamson, and if you can show the next slide, if you look, Shahid Buttar is not the only one she endorsed. She also endorsed Michaela Wilkes from Maryland, Jen Perlman, who is opposing Debbie Wasserman Schultz in Florida. And also Lauren Ashcraft, which we interviewed a couple of months ago, and of course Shahid Buttar. And well, I like her. I like her perspective on things, and she says she made her own experiences, and I can imagine they were not too good with the Democratic Party. Otherwise, she would not have decided, you know, to support progressive voices within, right? And I like it, and I hope it would help all of those, and especially Shahid Buttar, in his attempt to unseat Nancy Pelosi. We really need to get rid of. You know. Well, any thoughts on this, John? Is it a good sign? What do you say about Marianne Williamson?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody remembers who she is at this point with everything else going on, but you know, it was good.
Well, I think she's still prominent enough, you know.
No, it
anyway.
was good. There's a lot of other endorsements coming through. You know,
yes, right.
Nancy's not doing herself any favors, so it's all been a boost for the campaign.
Yeah.
So Marianne's is great. I guess if I were to say anything about this so far, what I find the most disheartening and what I am most angry about is that Bernie Sanders continues to defend Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the other high powers in the DNC. And I just I have lost complete respect and faith for that man. Say that.
Yes. No. Anyway, we gotta move on, and I would like to go back to Oz, you know, with an update on what's coming next week. I heard we are close now, what our format's concerned. Oz?
Yeah, it's it's a lot of work. We're doing an average of 2+ shows a day now. We've got production staffs that we're building for all these shows. We've got a great show tomorrow morning with Larry Taylor, PDPR, Progressive Washington, actually, tomorrow. He's always got some great information, and I got to say, Larry is making some networking things that is going to excite everybody as far as keeping the damn Democratic Party in line, at least our efforts. We have a terrific interview tomorrow on the accidental activist, Shanda Masta. I believe she's interviewing, there was a kid pulled out of a fire by a firefighter yesterday. I think she has that interview tomorrow, I'm hoping. But we have a town hall tonight on endorsed candidates. We just got things flying all over the place. Now, next week I'll have an announcement. We're bringing in somebody from an already established platform who's got a lot of subs and talks to a lot of candidates and talks to the issues. It's just too much to tell you right here. I don't want to take up more time. But we're doing some exciting things with Uphill Media. And again, Cork Radio, this is really vital. We get this thing up and running because we're not even getting a radio station, but we're getting into a radio network, folks. And this is where, like Rush Limbaugh back in the 80s, this is at AM radio and then FM radio. That's where they started to grow. So we need to get into that to get our voices heard higher on the platform. But that's pretty much it there. And thank you for... Guys, it was a great show again today, and I love seeing all of you, and I really like hiding behind the curtain so I don't go on and on like I just did.
Can I thank you, Oz? Appreciate all you do. I just want to say something here. Can I, please, before we get out of here? To everybody in the audience right now, and we're talking about Melissa, who's worried about, her bookstore burning down, because Melissa's a small business owner. Most small business owners aren't exactly sitting with fat stacks. Just not to get too heavy, Scott Galindez is dead partially because I didn't recognize that he needed financial help, and I told everybody, let's not create a GoFundMe for him, and then he ended up dead. So Mel, if you need financial help, I'd like you to let us know, set up a GoFundMe, or we can do that for you, and we'll get you help. All right. If your building burns down and you need help, and I say that to anybody in the audience, because I don't want to lose any friends like I lost Scott. Okay. If it's just a matter of money, we can all pull together and make sure that you've got what you need. And that right there is what it's going to take for us, community by community, to survive this. Okay.
Very good. Very good. Great idea. And I support you. I'm in the boat with it. Yeah.
Okay. None of us needs to starve or suffer. We can get through this together.
No. Right. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for being with me. Thank you, Amos. Thank you, John. Thank you, Dennis. And of course, us who make all this happen. Great. And I'm so thankful for us. And we are going out with Playing for Change. This is a project which collects musicians from all over the world, and they play a certain song. And I like this. I like the approach because we need unity. And in this time, I chose Seeds of Freedom by Manu Chao and lots of other musicians, and I hope you will enjoy it. I wish you to have a great and safe weekend. And we hope we will see us next week. And don't forget, if you consider it, donate something to our channel, to Cork Radio. And tune in to the other shows which are coming every day. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
Seeds of freedom, time has come. Seeds of freedom, life will overcome. Seeds of freedom, all we need is some. Seeds of freedom, life will overcome. Small seeds.